What's up YouTube, Evan from Epic Duel Time here doing a commentary for this week's duel video for you guys. On the left we have Chris LeBlanc piloting a Mermail deck for us, and on the right we have Michael piloting a Hieratic ruler for us. So Michael will take the first turn using a Dragon's Shrine to send a Flammable Guard, and then when you send a normal monster you can send another one, so he then sends a Blaster. And then activates an Upstart Goblin to draw another card. Michael will end his turn by setting one card. And then we're going to see Chris using Abyss Megalo, pitching a Marksman and a Atlantean Dragoons. So when the Megalo is summoned, Michael will draw a card for the Max C that he chained to the effect, and then he'll be able to send a Hieratic on the new chain with the Atlanteans. So in this case, Dragoons and Marksmen, depending on whichever one would take the Chain Link 1 for this, would activate on a new chain after the Abyss Sphere, and then the chained Hieratic Seal of the Ashes will send a Esset to the graveyard. And because Ashes is now face up, the Marksman won't destroy it. A direct attack with Megalo and 3 set back row will end Chris's turn. I'm trying to highlight for this format some of the more relevant decks, things like Mermails, things like Hieratic Rulers. These aren't just gimmicks, these are really major players for the meta. And I think there's something that everybody can benefit from being able to watch videos of and learn these decks, as well as just be able to see an entertaining match between two highly competitive decks with fairly skilled pilots being able to utilize them. So a Tefnuit is special summoned, and then an Esset tributed over it. A Labradorite Dragon is special summoned off the Tefnuit, and then Esset's effect to turn its level into a normal monster's level. And Esset will change to 6, and a Hieratic Dragon of a Tomb, or Hieratic Dragon King of a Tomb. And then a Tomb's effect we'll summon Redox. And Redox is the more important of the Dragon Rulers to be going for right now, because there is a Max C engrave. And Max C being Earth will allow Michael to have to banish fewer cards for it. So, the banish of Tempest and Tefnuit for Blaster that was in hand. And searching for Tempest's effect, a Debris Dragon. And then from there, Michael will overlay the Redox and Blaster into number 11 Big Eye, using its effect to take Mermail Abyss Megalo. Finishing the Max C, and then a Hieratic for Redox. Remember that Ashes allows you to return one banished Hieratic per turn, so he's not actually taking out the SS just because Ashes is going to return it anyway, so if you notice that. Then with the Megalo and the Redox making a Dracosac, and the Dracosac will detach the Redox for 2 tokens. And then he will Xyz change the Atum into a Gaia Dragon. And a direct attack with the Gaia Dragon. And then Dracosac will use its effect to tribute one of the tokens and target a face-down Abyss Sphere to destroy it, but the Abyss Sphere will be chained. And summoning Mermail Abyss Lind. Abyss Lind will activate when the Abyss Sphere is destroyed, bringing it with it. and then Mermail Abyss Turge will be summoned. From there, on Chris's turn, he will normal summon Mermail Abyss Pike, pitching a Atlantean Marksman, but the last face down card was a Skill Drain, which is activated. And from there, Chris is going to activate 2 copies of Reckless Greed. And from there, he's going to be able to utilize that Skill Drain himself and use the Pike and the Abyss Turge and make a Crazy Box. And Crazy Box normally can't attack. It has 3,000 attack, but it can't attack when it's using its effects, but Skill Drain keeps it from ever being able to use its effects. So he is able to just summon a 3,000 beater and attack right over that Dracosac. Remember that Dracosac's effects are also negated, so it can't save itself. Well, it can now be destroyed, I should say. It doesn't really save itself. So Michael's going to use Redox and banishing a Hieratic and 2 Hieratics to summon itself. One of the Hieratics goes back. A Debris Dragon was normal summoned, of course not getting its effect. Not that it could anyways. The monster field was clogged up too much, but in this case we're going to see a Synchro with the Redox and that Debris making a Star Eater. Star Eater, of course, having more attack points than Crazy Box. So 2 more Hieratics are banished for title, and a direct attack, an attack on Crazy Box is declared with Star Eater. Remember, the Star Eater's effect is currently negated, so yes, you can respond to his attacks. And so a Raigeki Break is going to be responded in response. In this case, Michael was really close to having the game. 3 other beaters that could have all sunk in damage for game. But pitching card and destroying the Star Eater. Now, Big Eye will attempt to use its effect. Of course, being negated by Skill Drain, you can still activate it and detach for cost. So his goal is to get more Dragon Rulers in the graveyard, banishing more monsters, summoning them, and then making a Dracosac, attributing itself to keep it unaffected by Skill Drain, and then popping that Crazy Box. Unfortunately, at this point, Chris doesn't really have a way to get Skill Drain off the board. And the problem is that if he hadn't used the Raigeki Break on the Star Eater, he would have lost. So in that case, he was really kind of locked in by his own cards, and unfortunately couldn't really break through that Skill Drain. Skill Drain is really a floodgate card. It limits the amount of options you have. I'm not overly fond of the card. I know there's quite a few players that aren't either. It's a hard card to work with because essentially, especially right now with Dragon Rulers, it's very much a whoever cranks out more card advantage and then avoids getting skill drained or has the out skill drain. So whether it's MST, whether it's Raigeki Break, whether it's Dust, whether it's an effect that can be resolved under a Forbidden Lance or something, it can be tricky. So Chris's first turn was setting 3 back row. Michael's first turn was using a Dragon Shrine to do the exact same thing he did in game 1, but setting a back row, just like he did game 1. So Reckless Greed will give Chris 2 cards. Reckless Greed and Upstart Goblin have really become huge contenders in this format, and they've become subject to a lot of jokes and a lot of ridicule, but they do allow for quite a bit of consistency. Drawing the card now could mean the difference between game. So Abystios pitching a Mermail Abyss Megalo and then searching out what I believe to be was a Mermail Bisgund. And then a Reckless Greed was activated on... Oh no, likely that was a Pike. Excuse me. Oh no, I'm sorry, I lied again. It was Gund. See, sometimes things just go a little too fast. So, Pike pitching Goon, getting back Megalo, and Maxi was chained, so a card is drawn. Pike will attack, and then Abysseus will attack, and then Megalo will attack, bringing Michael's life down to 25. The problem here is that if Chris overlays for Dracosack and then has to make tokens, he's going to give essentially Michael two more cards, and that's way too many cards to be giving him right now. But at the same time, if you know, Michael has a way of being able to clear all those monsters at the same time, like Dark Hole, as he has right now, well, then that poses a much larger problem. However, Chris has a bit of an interesting advantage here. He's got 4 back row, and if he utilizes them all properly, and they're all relevant, it can definitely mean the difference between losing because of that, or winning. One of the things that we're seeing right here is that a Blaster is summoned, and Chris had the Bottomless Trap Hole, so he's wasting 3 of Michael's dragons just for something that he doesn't ever get to really happen. At this point, if Chris were to draw a title, he'd be in a really great position. So, during the end phase, a Raigeki break, and pitching Mermail Abyssgund, and the Abyssgund will activate off of a Raigeki break. So, it will summon back Mermail Abyss Pike. Mermail Abyss Pike's effect will activate, pitching a card, and then searching out another Mermail Abyssgund. Another Raigeki break, pitching a Mermail Bisgund, and essentially the monster that would come back is Megalo, and that would be game. So that'll bring us right down to game 3. I don't always try to pick best of 3 matches. I like it though, because it kind of allows you a little more suspense. You get to see players on both ends really being able to resolve plays and being able to show what the deck does. It's better than watching a blowout 2-0 match. So I do have a tendency to lean towards posting more 2-1 matches, because let's be honest, 3-game matches are a little more suspense, have a little more suspense to them than a 2-0 blowout. There's not as much interesting, unless the interactions are really dynamic. Then yeah, it's definitely worth posting. So Michael, just like the last 2 games, has Dragon Shrined, except he's at 2 back row, which is different. And then Chris setting 4. For Michael's turn, he's going to activate Reckless Greed. Another Dragon Shrine. And Dragon Shrine is just a really strong card. It's a slow Dragon's Ravine. And this time he has to send a Tempest. I'm assuming that Labradorite is in his hand. And then a Hieratic Seal of Convocation to search out Esset, and Esset is summoned. Attributed for Sue. Esset's effect, getting Flammable Guard, and Chris knows what's coming. We have a 1 and a 6, so a Torrential Tribute is going to prevent a Black Rose play from occurring. That is one of the biggest things about the Hieratic deck, is that Flammable Guard really does it does some nasty stuff, being able to be such a consistently relevant tuner, to really have potential Black Rose just at any given moment with so many 6s and so many workable things to have happen. So for Chris's turn, he's going to Reckless Greed, set 2 more and end. It's seeming that his hand is not exactly what he needs it to be right now, and that's a problem because Michael's graveyard's not in a terrible spot. So a banish of Tempest and a Hieratic for Blaster. Tempest effect will activate. and search out debris dragons. And an attack for 2,800. Now for Chris's turn, a Mystical Space Typhoon to target the other Mystical Space Typhoon, and then a chain to Raigeki Break to destroy the blaster. And what Chris was trying to avoid was he wanted to make sure that the MST wouldn't hit that Abyss Sphere. So, Abyss Sphere will get Mermail Abyss Pike. And then a Mermail Abyss Turge will be normal summoned, and then attacking with the two of them for 3,300 combined. It's really proving more and more that Chris's hand is not optimal. He's having a really hard time being able to get into combo pieces. Seemingly he's not drawing Atlanteans, he's not drawing Abyssgund. And then an overlay between the two monsters for Bahamut Shark. And then Mermail Abyss Trade is summoned. A Tefnuit is special summoned and tributed for another Tefnuit. The effect of Tefnuit will activate. Summoning the Labradorite in hand. And then overlaying the two level 6 dragons for Constellar Ptolemy M7, to which Chris is then forced to Raigeki Break, pitching Mermail Abyssgund, and then summoning back a Mermail Abyss Pike. So, banishing two monsters from the grave for a blaster. Blaster will attack over Bahamut Shark. Then Chris will ram his own Abyss Trite into the blaster, and that will summon back the Abyss Turge. So he has two choices really for rank 2s in this, rank 4s, excuse me. He has a choice between summoning number 101 or summoning Exciton. And he picks the Exciton because he knows that debris is in hand. However, he knows that Blaster is in hand, or Blaster is available. And then the debris. So then a synchro for Stardust Spark Dragon. So upon entering the battle phase, Chris immediately uses Excited Knight's effect. And then because of the way that Michael worked the chain, on the new chain, Exciton could use his effect again during the battle phase. Remember that his effects is once per chain. However, for Michael's turn, he had two Hieratics, and that will give him game. Last Duel video's pack giveaway winner is the Morning Sun. If you want to have your chance to win a pack of Number Hunters and an Epic Duel Time deck box decal, there are 3 simple things you gotta do. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment with an answer to our question of the week. This week's question is, with more information announced recently regarding the Dragons of Legend booster set, what anime exclusive cards would you like to see printed and why? As always, like, comment, subscribe, and keep dueling, America.